pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we call the annual meeting to order. We only have one item on the agenda, and that is to discuss the discussion and possible action on the town audit.
I will, mind if I...
Turn that over to Chris.
I will, so for those of you who don't know, every year the town gets an audit. We have an audit firm that we hire. It's Johnson Block CPAs out of Madison, and they come and they audit us, make sure that we're not stealing any money, that things are tracked, that things look good. We're following government accounting principles, all that kind of good stuff. And then what they do is they prepare a draft report, which at the previous meeting the town board approved. And once that draft report is approved, then they make a very pretty report. And so overall, I'm going to give a really high-level overview, and I'm going to keep it really short because even I don't understand everything that's in here because I'm not an accountant. But overall, the town is in really good financial shape. We have right around $1 million in reserves in the bank. Susan and I are not stealing any money, which is really great. But as a part of that, as part of this audit process, they go through our processes and how we account for things, and they always provide some suggestions. I'm going to speak about a couple of them when we get to the regular board meeting, but in no particular order, as a part of their management letter, they suggested 4 things. They suggested more than 4, but kind of my 4 that I identified were at times, and depending on the time of year, we have more than $250,000 on hand in a specific bank account. Of course, and maybe you don't know, but FDIC only insures up to that amount, so it's just something, it's a risk. It's a risk the board is aware of that, if you wanted to move money around, we could certainly do that. But really, the biggest time of year when that happens is really property tax time. We have our money currently in Badger Bank and in Hometown Bank. We are over the FDIC amount at Badger Bank. So it is a risk, but I think everybody in this room is very familiar with the community banks downtown. They're very secure. I'm certainly comfortable with that, but just something you guys should be aware of. The second thing is that we don't currently have a credit card policy. This specifically I'm going to talk about a little bit more in the town board meeting. But we do have 3 department heads that have credit cards, myself, Jeff, and Chief. So not having a credit card policy is something that we really should have. So I'll talk more about that later. Related to that, the boat launch process and how we collect money and how we track money and how we make sure that everything is accounted for. That's not something that has probably been looked at. Well, I know it hasn't been looked at since I've been here, so it's at least a year and a half. But there is some risk involved with who's picking up money, the different number of people that are picking up money. Is it just me? Is it just the police? That kind of stuff. So I don't think there's anything the auditors were worried about, but it's just we don't have a really laid out process for how to do it. I kind of adapted to what I understood when I was here last summer and just figured out how things went. And now that we all kind of know how things go, at least Chief and I and the officers, I think we can put together a really good process that will mitigate a lot of that risk. And then the other thing was the accounting procedures. They touched on that a little bit. When Susan, and you guys know, Susan's primary role, not only as my backup, but she's really in charge of the financial aspect of the town and how we operate and what's going on and where money is and that kind of stuff. And so last year, she was really familiarizing herself with how we do things here. And this year, she's much more comfortable in how to do them. And so we're gonna look at this a little bit more in detail, probably after the first of the year, and make sure that everything's done how it needs to be. And for the most part, I think it is, but there's just some kind of checks and balances that we have to follow up on, and just make sure that we're keeping everything on the up and up, which we are, but making sure that we have folders for everything and records are right where they need to be and that kind of stuff. So overall, I think the audit came back really, really good. They were here. Was this before COVID, I think? Mm-hmm. It was before COVID hit, so they were here in February, and we're just now getting this now because of COVID and how their office has just been, everybody's working from home and all that stuff. So if anybody wants to see a copy of it, I mean, you guys all have the draft that from the last meeting. It's pretty much the same thing, it just looks a lot nicer. But I have 2 copies that I will keep in the office if anybody, and this is residents too, this isn't like it's a secret or anything. But anybody can come in and look at it, they just can't leave the building. I believe I also have them electronically, or if I don't, I can get them, so.
You put them on the website or no?
I don't.
Oh.
It's not because I don't want to, it's just because I don't think most people would understand it. And not that I don't think that they're not smart, but it's really heavy on the accountant language, and I didn't do that well in accounting in college. I did okay, but I'm not an accountant, so.
And it's 40 pages long.
It is. It's 40 pages long, so it would be. I didn't think about that. It is a big file, so I could do it, but I don't. But it is readily available in case anybody wants to take a look at it ever. So all that we need is really it's just a motion, and I'm happy to answer questions that I can answer. I may not be able to answer them right now, just because I don't speak accountant language, but I think all we need is just a motion and a second to accept it, and then I'll keep it on file with the rest of the audits from years past that we have, so.
Okay, are there any questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to approve the town audit. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the annual meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, we'll call the regular town board meeting to order. Let the minutes show that all are present. And before we go on, I'd like to, on the agenda, we have item number 11, the paramedic service update. I'd like to move that up ahead of the police chief's report. If that's okay with everyone? Okay. Any public comment on item not on the agenda? We're not to that point yet, Bob. Okay, approval of minutes from the August 18th meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I read the minutes from the August 18th meeting, and I'll make a motion to approve them as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to approve the minutes from the August 18th meeting as written. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Now, we'll have the paramedic service update from the Cambridge Volunteer Fire Department. Actually, it's from the Cambridge EMS service.
Sure. So, just for your all information, I'm Bob Saloff. I'm the director of the Cambridge EMS. And we brought some our paramedics that are on duty right now. And so I'd like to just a brief introduction and then have them just give you testimonials about what it is to be a paramedic and how that elevates us from the advanced EMTs that we've been. And so there was a Act 97, and I have a copy of it, but you can just look it up. It's a very short law that was passed in November of 2017 that allows advanced EMTs, or it allows any service to upgrade to the next level as long as their medical director approves it and as long as they have the staff to fill those shifts. So it's called flex scheduling. So we flexed up to paramedic when we had staff on duty. And we rewrote our operational plan, which was this document, and everybody had to sign it. And we are now to get to flex scheduling, but now we want to upgrade to a full license of paramedic, because we are staffing 100% every hour, 24 hours a day, every weekday with paramedics. So we've got a very high level of service. We started that in March of 2018, and we have been building that staff, and now we're fully paramedic. Now we want to get the license because it gives us more opportunities. It doesn't change the budget. We've been budgeting for full paramedic for this year, for 20, and that's why there was substantial raise in 2020, but there's no more additional budgetary costs to this. So with that, I'd like to introduce to you Deputy Director Cindy Gustafson, and Cindy hopefully will tell you a little bit about the experience. She just graduated into paramedic status as a licensed paramedic. And then we have Jesse Bell, who's a paramedic, and he's been with us for about a year, And we also have Alex Knight, he's a paramedic, and he's just joined our staff. So this is your crew on today. Alex needs to, according to our medical director, he needs to have 5 calls that are supervised by another paramedic before he can be fully on his own. So he's in that phase as a new employee. So if you guys would just talk briefly about what it means to be a paramedic as opposed to an EMT basic or an advanced EMT, I'd really appreciate that.
You want me to come up there?
Sure.
Okay. So I'll use like a specific type of call. I'll use a cardiac call as an example. If I'm an EMT basic and I get a cardiac call, I can hook a 12 lead up to the patient and I can send it to the hospital. I can give them aspirin and that's it. With the cardiac patient who's actually having an MI needs, they need that aspirin. They also need nitroglycerin and they need pain control. Otherwise their stress level goes up. The cardiac muscle is deprived of oxygen and that's when more damage occurs. Paramedics are able to do those interventions. They're also able to interpret the 12 leads to best advise the patient on where we should go. Some patients, especially in this area, you get a good mix of, I want to go to Fort Hospital or I want to go to UW Hospital. Sometimes it's a very sick patient that wants to go to Fort Hospital, but as an EMT basic, you're not able to interpret that 12 lead and say, you should not go to this hospital. They don't have a cardiac cath lab. You need a cath lab, we need to go now. So the EMT basic will transmit the 12 lead to the hospital. The hospital has no way of communicating back to them. They get it almost instantly. It's kind of like a text message, how long it takes to get there. So by the time you make that phone call in and you're heading towards the hospital as an EMT basic with a patient who is having a heart attack, you're getting further away from where that patient needs to go, and then the hospital, when you get on the phone with them, then they tell you, no, you need to turn around and go the other way. So now the time you just took 10 minutes, now you're 20 minutes plus the 25 minutes it takes to get from Cambridge to St. Mary's. And time is of the essence in a cardiac call, very specifically. Unfortunately, those things don't discriminate on age, sex, race, socioeconomic status, socioeconomic, sorry, I spoke that. So it's really, really important in especially rural EMS, because we don't have the luxury of having a hospital 5 minutes away from us. I live in Janesville, so if you're like 5 minutes away from any hospital, we have Mercy and St. Mary's. Madison, the residents are a little bit more fortunate because you've got 3 hospitals that are a lot closer, but out here it's more time is of the essence. The paramedics are able to deliver those life-saving medications and get that patient to the hospital.
The nearest cath lab is in Madison.
Yep, St. Mary's in Madison.
Fort doesn't have one.
Correct. Yep, Fort doesn't have one. So St. Mary's in Madison. Does Meriter?
Meriter does not, no.
Meriter does not. UW and Mercy
Right.
are the 3 closest in our area. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Cindy.
Yeah.
Our newest member.
Hello, my name is Alex. We're kind of going with Cindy was saying. The EMTs are more, control your bleeding, stop or help breathing a little bit, but they're like the first aid unit kind of. They can definitely run an ambulance, but they don't know a lot of the disease process and what's going on in the body. The paramedics are there to actually solve the problem, especially when you're in the hospital 30 minutes away. It's really important that you have paramedics, especially in a rural area like this. So you get some of those severe calls. An EMT may not know what's going on. They may not be able to properly diagnose and properly treat the patient, but a paramedic can for a good portion of the time actually treat and solve the patient. And by the time they get to the hospital needs to do very little besides blood work and continuing the care you did. So it does mean life or death in a lot of situations between EMT and paramedics. We have a lot of medications and procedures where an EMT just would not be able to do anything for the patient. And as a paramedic level, we can properly stabilize the patient when they get to the hospital and help them continue that care.
Okay, thank you.
kind of work off what Alex said. Kind of the main thing, difference between an EMT and a paramedic, a lot of it has to do with education. The state of Wisconsin requires an EMT to have 180 hours of education. My paramedic school is about 2,000 hours, so it's almost, over 10 times as many hours of training. There's also, when we go to do our clinicals in the hospital, in EMT, I did 10 hours of ER, training time. When I went through paramedic, I did probably 200, 250 hours in the ER, plus at a time in the respiratory unit, at a time in the operating room where I put tubes into people, breathing tubes into people. I went to the OB unit, I delivered babies, I went to the cardiac cath lab, I watched them put catheters in. So the big difference between a paramedic and an EMT is just that extra training that we receive, that extra education. Not only the experience in the hospital, but also learning more about pathophysiology, learning more how the body works. I was an EMT for 2 years. I was an advanced EMT for 2 years, and now paramedic for 2 years. So my training as an EMT for how medications work is, their chest hurts, give them this. They can't breathe, give them this. Versus as a paramedic, I learned, okay, you give them aspirin because it helps make the platelets stick less, which reduces the damage the heart attack causes. So you learn the reason behind why you give these medications, which helps you better decide how to best treat someone. We spent maybe 15 hours in EMT learning about the body. I spent probably 150, 200 hours on just learning how the body works and disease process, things like that. So that's kind of the main thing that a paramedic brings, not only the extra skills, the extra medications, but also that extra education of, what's going on, how can I best treat this, can I fix this here, can I fix this in the hospital? So that's where the benefit comes in from paramedic, is just their extra knowledge and extra education.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for these folks? Think of something later, you're always welcome to come visit us at the station.
Yeah.
Well, we're not having visitors, but if you call me, we'll arrange to meet in the parking lot and talk. But if you have any, or you can email me, I'm director@CambridgeAreaEMS.com. And of course, Chris has that, and
Yep.
Sherman have my contact information. But you're more than welcome, to see any of the detail on the paramedics. It's you look up scope of practice, Department of Health, scope of practice, paramedic, you'll see all the skills that they have to be proficient in to be on duty. So anyway, any questions?
So is there a process to do the upgrade? And what's the expense, I guess, and what's the time frame that's done in?
So they'll receive it any time. It's open for us. There's no rules about the flex scheduling. So we're really, they really leaving us alone. It's all under our medical direction, which is Dr. McNeil down at Mercy Hospital. So he's monitoring us for, everything that we do to make sure we're doing it in compliance with the rules and the protocols of Mercy Hospital. So that was the document that we did last time when we applied for flex scheduling. And we did the whole thing from the bottom up. So it's not gonna take, this is a lot of work, but it's done already. We just have to now update it. Instead of in compliance to Act 97, it'll be in compliance to the rules to become a paramedic service. And they're the same rules. So we've done it then, which was in March of 2018, and now we'll do it again. I bet it'll take us into the midwinter or beginning of winter. But hopefully we'll get this completed by December. Meanwhile, we still run as a paramedic. We carry the drugs that paramedics carry. We have, the narcotics that are secured and are checked out on a shift by shift time. So we do all that paramedics level services do, but we want the license now.
Well, as president of the Cambridge Area Fire and EMS Commission, I'm just proud as can be at what's happened with our EMS. What is it, almost 3 years now that we're full-time, or have full-time employees as EMTs as opposed to volunteers?
it's not that, I mean, we've had people working full-time, but we haven't been
Yeah.
paying them,
Right.
you know, with benefits, which we are now, and so we've attracted really high caliber, very skilled people.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for coming.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you
very much.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah.
Great. Have a good evening.
You too. The chief isn't here. Did he leave anything, any report for you?
He did not, he is in Colorado riding his motorcycle.
Right, he's on a motorcycle trip.
Yes, so he's having a good time.
Okay, and Jeff isn't here. I see the salt shed is, got siding on it.
Yes,
No roof yet, or no
Roof's
shingles?
on.
At the final.
Yes, no shingles, but
Yeah.
they finished the roof yesterday, so it's coming along nicely.
I think they'll be done with that by the end of the week. Looks like good weather, so. Okay, clerk treasurer's report.
Oh, strap yourselves in. Lots to talk about tonight, lots to talk about. First of all, you may or may not be aware, the Supreme Court of Wisconsin has allowed us to mail absentee ballots as soon as we get them. The Jefferson County clerk, and that decision came down
Yes.
yesterday evening, so we received guidance from the county clerk's office and the Elections Commission this morning. Our county clerk did not order them yet because she was waiting to see what would happen. So I am very hopeful that we will get them tomorrow or Thursday at the latest. Everything that we need to do to prepare for them coming is done. All the inserts are folded, all the envelopes are pre-printed, all the envelopes are stamped. All we really need to do is stuff them in the envelopes. So I have between 2 and 4 election workers that are kind of going to come in and help us depending on when we get them. And so we'll be able to get all of them out, again, as soon as we get the ballot. I don't know when that's going to be. But we'll get them all out in one fell swoop, and then as they trickle in 1 or 2 at a time, Susan and I will be able to just handle them as they come. We usually turn them around in a business day, so.
Do we still have to request them, or everyone will go?
No, so Wisconsin, I'm glad you asked that question. Wisconsin is not sending ballots out to everybody. What the Elections Commission did is they decided to send an absentee ballot application, which is, we just can't send a ballot out to anybody just for any reason. You have to ask us for it. And so, once you ask us for it, then we can mail it to you, or if you want to come in and vote in person, you can do that too. But what the Elections Commission did is they sent that application out to every registered voter that did not have an active application on file as of June 1st. So their information, in my opinion, unfortunately, was a little bit outdated because if you got one after June 1st, they didn't know that. So some people that already have requests on file have gotten this form and have called us about it, like, I want to make sure that I'm okay, and they are. But every registered voter that didn't have one on file got a form, and we've been seeing some of those come in. A lot of people have been doing it online through myvotewisconsin.gov, which is a great place to do it. Some people have been coming inside and doing it in person, but we don't mail ballots out unless you tell us to as a voter. So that's a very good question. So as far as election, other stuff goes, we're looking really solid on workers. I'm gonna start working on the schedule next week because we're probably gonna run with 7 in the morning and 7 in the afternoon. But I think we're gonna be just fine. We've had a lot of people step up and volunteer if they could be poll workers. I don't know that I'm gonna use everybody, but it's great to have so many people in the community be like, hey, I wanna see this happen, I wanna be a part of this process, so that's really great. Switching gears a little bit, update on the CARES grant from the federal government. This happened, this was, I think, over the summer where they earmarked $200 million to go to municipalities, county governments, tribal governments. We were allotted $51,000 to spend by, I believe it's November 7th. And I just submitted, I didn't submit anything in July, which was the first period, because we didn't have a whole lot to submit. So I just submitted the second round for today. We're gonna get $3,500 back, and this is going all the way back to March. These shields being built by Public Works, the masks, the gloves, the hand sanitizer, the wipes, We've got some computer work that we're able to build into that. So all that's gonna, I don't know how long it's gonna be till we get it, but we will get it. And then for November, we've submitted some technology. We're gonna get some brand new computers. You're gonna get one. I didn't realize this, but there is a line for emergency operations.
Okay.
So we're gonna make sure that you have one. I'm gonna get one, Chief's gonna get one, Jeff is gonna get one, and then Computers Nationwide is gonna be setting up mine for remote access. They're also gonna do Susan's. All this is not out of the pocket of the town. The grant is gonna reimburse us for all these costs. So that one's gonna be at least $5,000, but we're looking at even more. And then just yesterday, I went to the city of Fort Atkinson. I know Michelle, the clerk treasurer, very well. We've been really close friends for about 10 years. And she let me borrow her paper trifolder, and it literally was a life-changing experience for me. So we're gonna get one of those for property tax bills, for property tax inserts, for trifolding ballots. It's gonna make life so much easier for the office. So we really are doing, we're spending as much money as we can. I still don't know if we're gonna be able to spend all $51,000, but I've been talking with Jeff and with Chief, and we're gonna do our best to make sure that we have significant upgrades for the entire town hall and the staff in every department. As long as it's covered under the grant, we'll do that. So, any questions so far? Okay. The kind of big news that at least the 5 of you already know, I'm getting my hip replaced in a week. I'm going to be off of work anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. 2 weeks for sure. 4 weeks is a possibility, but my God, my wife does not want me at home for 4 weeks. I'm certain of that. So part of the reason that my laptop is going to be set up for remote access is because I'm going to be working from home. I have confirmation from Computers Nationwide that should be done by Friday. My last day in the office will be Friday, and then I have to get my pre-op COVID test on Sunday, and then I have to isolate at home, and my surgery is on Tuesday, a week from today. So I'm going to miss everybody because I'm not going to want to be at home, but I'm going to be recouping there. But Susan is already plowing through the kind of the first draft of the budget. We're going to be talking constantly once I'm off the pain meds and can put coherent thoughts together. But we're already working on stuff. We're already planning on stuff. I have a file of work to bring home with me. So I'm going to, my surgeon said, listen to your hip, you'll know. And so when I know it's appropriate for me to come back, but like I said, he told me, it's like, you're young, you're 40, you're bringing the average age of a hip replacement down, you should be fine in a few weeks. But I'm not super excited about it, but it's, kind of one of those necessary evils. So it'll be a little bit quieter around the building, that's for sure. I can assure you of that. But and then the other thing that I have listed here is discussion and possible action of the town credit card policy for employees. This is one of those things I was going to try and have done before this meeting, and then I found out I was having hip surgery, so I don't have it done, but I will have it ready for October because I'm going to bring it home with me and do it at home. It should be a really simple maybe 1.5 page policy. I have 4 examples that I'm going to pull all the information from and craft a really good one, and then it should be ready to go in October. Then once we're done with that, I'll start to focus on the other stuff that they talked about, the bolt launch process, the having $250,000 in an account. I want to get through this first because this is a pretty easy one, but it's also really important and we really should have one. So you'll see stuff from the audit come probably once every meeting until we kind of get through enough or most of it. So anybody have any questions? That was a lot.
Good
Okay.
job.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Good luck on your surgery.
Thank you.
We won't be able to come and see you.
Nobody will be able to come visit me. That includes my wife.
Even
so
your wife, so.
she's going to enjoy the silence while she has it.
Right, she probably will. Next item is Cambridge Fire Commission update. We've had all the meetings. We're having one more with the Village of Cambridge Thursday night here, face-to-face. Thus far, they've all been very positive. The Cambridge one was it was a Zoom meeting and did not come off well. That didn't work very well. So we decided to redo that meeting Thursday night. So, But
What time is that at?
6:30.
6:30.
And we'll have a commission meeting the 23rd, next week. And that's when we will decide if we're going to recommend advisory referendum for spring, or we'll come back to the boards, municipal boards, to get that approval. So any questions on that? Next item is discussion and possible action on a request to rezone N3115 Treeloft Road, parcel number 022-0613-2623-000, and also parcel number 022-0613-2623-004, and parcel number 0613-2714-001 from A1 to A2.
From A2 to A1?
I flipped
That's,
it.
Oh,
That was my mistake.
oh.
A1 to A2?
A1 to A2. It should read A1 to A2.
you want to
I
step
was
up to the
wondering
mic and tell us what you're doing?
I currently raise fainting goats and I need more pasture land, so I want to purchase that, fence it off, and basically it's going to be used for pasture land. So I can keep breeding and increase my herd.
Okay. So it's just as recommended zoning change, basically, is all that is.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions for, you're James, correct?
James,
Yeah.
correct.
Any questions for James? The planning committee, unanimous?
Yeah, reviewed it, it wasn't an issue. If you look back at the diagram that you're given, James already has the house on an A1, that's 2.81, and then we're adding two other parcels that are immediately adjacent to it to create the pasture land, so then it's all gonna, I'm assuming it's all gonna be one plat at
Yeah,
this point?
yeah.
So then, and it's gonna be expanding of your goat business, and there were no objections, unanimous concurrence by the plan committee.
Okay, any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Oh, I'll second it.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to approve the zoning change, or recommend to approve the zoning change from A1 to A2 at N3115 Treeloft Road. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
James, what I'll do, I have this sheet that the county gives me.
Okay.
I'm gonna fill this out tomorrow morning and then email it over to them, so then you'll be through the town process and they'll know what happened here and you'll be all set to go.
Okay,
So-
thank you.
Okay, next item, discussion and possible action on an operator's license for Carrie Zilmer.
Carrie's background check came back clean and no issues. She attached all of her proper documentation. So I would suggest approval.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the operator license for Carrie Zilmer. Is that how you say it?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to approve the operator's license for Carrie Zilmer. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next item, discussion and possible action on reimbursement for town attorney conference for Attorney Mary Bailey. That's being held virtually, 2 different afternoons or forenoons, I can't remember. It's 2 4-hour sessions anyway. Typically, she's gone to Madison in years past for that. So it's a reduction, I can't even remember off the top of my head, I think it's $100.
Yeah, $100 is sticking out in my head, but I don't know what the amount is.
Do you need an amount for the motion, or
Yes.
you want to use $100?
I think so.
Okay.
I think that'd be fine.
I'll make the motion to approve the town attorney's conference for $100.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to approve the reimbursement for town attorney conference for Attorney Mary Bailey. All in favor signify by saying
No,
aye.
don't.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, the item everybody's been waiting for. Discussion and possible action regarding the employee handbook. Ted put together an email with some suggestions. You got a copy in your, that was on your desk when you came in. And some very good suggestions, Ted. I appreciate you doing that.
Oh, you're welcome.
I had the same about the Immigration Reform Act. You don't think that we need that in there at all?
I don't, let me just get to it real quick. I don't, only because,
Page 11.
yeah, it's on page 11. I don't think we need it in there because it's more of a condition of hire than it is actually being employed here. This is more something for employees who are already
Capture
employed
there.
here.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you wanted to have it in there, that's fine, but I don't know that it's necessary. I mean, when I give out a new hire packet to, anybody, it's got all the forms that they have to fill out and all the stuff that they have to submit to me, and we keep all that in their personnel file, whether it's a police officer, myself, or Susan, so, we could keep it in there, but I think in both Susan and my mind, it would be better left out, just to kind of shorten it up a little bit, and it's, I don't want to say it's not necessary, but it's kind of not necessary. But again, whatever you guys want to do is, it's a click of a mouse for us, so it's not a big deal to change one way or the other.
Well, maybe just a simple statement like Ted suggested wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, as
And I was totally fine with that.
as a policy, so that there's no doubt that that's, even though we may have it in our admissions packet, we're saying our policy is that we're only going to hire people who are legally entitled to work here.
And maybe that's just it. I mean, I'd love that.
You know, I don't know whether, do we want to take the time tonight? Some of these, there were some, and I'm sure Tom had them too on his list, where it says we need to have discussion about this.
Mm-hmm.
And do we want to do that tonight, or do we want to schedule a special session where
Special
we
session
spend,
for it.
you know, an hour to work through these these things? Some of these things are really easy. Other things are, we need to have the discussion and talk about them. So,
I don't have a vote in that per se, but I would say we've got some time now. I wouldn't have a problem, maybe not going through all of this list, but going through some of it. This is another thing that I'm anticipating taking home and working on, so whatever can be done, can be done. I'll just give you a preview. The October meeting is gonna be pretty much, it's gonna be the budget. So I don't know that we're gonna have a whole lot of time at the October meeting. We could have a special meeting between now and then. I can't guarantee that I'll be there, not that that's a deal breaker, but
You can just be there on the phone.
I could.
yeah.
I could. It's up to you guys what you want to do. I was anticipating having some discussion about this tonight, and especially given the list that Ted gave us. But it's up to you guys, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I just got that Ted's tonight.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, we just received this tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why I think once you start really thinking about this, it's easier for us to move through it if we just work through that as a unit, rather than do one or two tonight and then come back and do it another time. I think we should deal with it in a special meeting where we sit down and work through it. And I'll commit to Tom taking notes. No. We can take enough notes for you to reconstruct it and stuff. But that's, because if everybody else just got I sent it to Chris yesterday, and he sent it out last night, but most of it's been,
Depends upon the situation, and he may be able to listen in.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so.
Well, then I'd entertain a motion to table this to be included in a special meeting or the next board meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll second that. I'll make the motion.
You make the motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Correspondence, I don't see a court docket.
Nope, I didn't get one
Didn't
from
get one
Mary.
yet?
Nope.
Planning committee minutes?
I can't remember if they're in there or not.
Yes, they
They
are.
are in there, yes.
Yep. And next is the approval of disbursements.
Mhm.
What do I do with mine?
I'll make a motion that we approve disbursements,
Too late.
what? Beginning with check 41518 through and including electronic funds transfer P9256971 in the aggregate amount of $94,110.83.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to approve disbursements in the amount of $94,110.82. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, we're going to need a voice vote to go into closed session.